The jet airline revolution of the 1950s takes people further and faster than ever before. But with this new freedom comes new dangers.
The perfect example came in the Comet. When the world's first jet airliner crashed in India in 1953, there were no witnesses, there were no survivors, and there wasn't any obvious reason what had caused it.
3 other comets crash soon after.
The accidents in the early 1950s were quite shocking and were massive headlines at the time.
With the future of jet travel at stake, teams all around the world start to investigate, including Australia's Aeronautical Research Laboratory.
And David Warren was brought in because of his expertise in jet fuels.
Instead, he hits upon an idea which will change the whole world.
He came to it in a strange way. He'd been to a trade fair and he'd seen the Minifon, the world's first compact recording device using magnetised steel wire, and he'd been pirating his jazz records to provide recordings for friends.
I thought, why don't we put one of those, very simple, relatively cheap, small, light, in every aircraft and let it run all the time you're in the air? Then, if there were a crash, as in the Comet, we'd have a record of what the pilot said, and in many cases they would know what was going wrong.
But his boss isn't interested.
So he said, David, it's not your job. Give that to the right people, our instrument research people. That's their job, and you get on with blowing up your fuel tanks that you think might have caused the Comet crash.
Until a new manager, Tom Keeble, encourages him to record the ideas in a report.
He got very little response from that, which was quite disappointing.
So he said, I'll tell you what we'll do, and we can do it unofficially without mentioning why. We'll buy one of those Minifons, and you can take it up into an aeroplane and see if you can record pilot speech.
They went up and tried to do cockpit voice recordings, and they found they couldn't hear much because of the engine noise. So we had to refine the microphone technology.
Also, we tried to put little blips on it to record what instruments were reading. We wanted to know both what the pilots thought and what the instruments said, which might be different.
Tom and David approached a Melbourne instrument maker, Theon Titchmerfield, to make a prototype.
He quoted us a price, and he had to come down a lot and be generous to get within the range where we could hustle up enough funds without telling anybody really what it was for.
And this is it, the world's first combined cockpit, voice and flight data recorder.
It's based on the Minifon recorder with a wire, so it was on a continuous loop.
Earlier records are continually erased and the wire reused.
So it only retains 4 hours of recordings immediately before a crash. But even this doesn't convince the Australian authorities to take it up.
One answer was, Dr. Warren's invention has no immediate significance in civil aviation. Another one was, we do not need your device. In our opinion, it would produce more expletives than explanations. Even the pilots were against Big Brother listening.
So really it was only his personal dedication which enabled the research to keep going.
Nobody seemed to want it, until one day by accident, Coombs, our director, had a friend of his from England called in to see him quite unofficially.
And that was the real turning point, because it was Sir Robert Hardingham, who was the chairman of the British Aircraft Registration Board.
And I heard this pommy voice say, I say, Coombs, old chap, that's a damn good idea. Put that young lad on the next courier and we'll show him in London again. And I looked up to Coombs and he had a twinkle in his eye because he could see this was a possible breakthrough at last.
In London, David Warren and his device receive a hero's welcome.
The response was terrific. People wrote saying, we want to book up the first ones off your production line.
And it's also in London that this device first gets its black box misnomer.
During the war, if there was a piece of technical equipment that was highly secret, then the usual service slang was to refer to it as a black box.
Back home, things are starting to pick up speed.
The Department of Supply was then very keen to go ahead and get ready for production. So I was given a team of enthusiastic electronics people and told keep pace with the changing requirements of overseas.
But voice recording still seems too controversial until another tragedy strikes. In 1960, a Fokker Friendship passenger plane crashes in Queensland, killing all on board.
Abel Tasman and her entire complement became the victims of our most serious air disaster.
At the inquiry into this accident to try and solve it, we were able to let the judge know voice recorders were possible, available. And at the end of the investigation, he announced he would order that Australian aircraft be fitted with voice and data recorders. So the requirement in Australia was upgraded to being the first in the world, we were, to get cockpit voice recording made mandatory. And it's something Australia can be proud of.
But Australia's major airlines instead choose an American firm to supply Australia's first flight recorders. These record on magnetic tape and are prone to failure in a crash, unlike the ARL device.
And the use of steel wire gives maximum certainty of retrieval in the event of fire. An option to the manufacturing rights for this equipment has been granted to an English firm, Messrs. S. Duval and Sons.
And they produced a thing called the red egg, and that ended up, I think, in 17 of the world's airlines. At that stage, we felt that ARL's job was done. It was now afloat in the world. America and England followed Australia in voice recording. We had led the way.
Despite the success of the design, thanks to bureaucratic bungling, Australia never really receives the compensation due for its pioneering work in this area.
I guess there's a school of thought that says you shouldn't actually monetise aviation safety in the same way that Volvo allowed their invention of the seatbelt to be used by all car manufacturers. But there was still a lost opportunity. Australia had many years head start.
David Warren is eventually recognised with an Order of Australia for his work on the black box in 2002.
Even though it's probably a little belated, I think his story and his invention is now well recognised, and he's given the honour that's his due for having come up with this very simple but incredibly effective idea.
And no one thinks of David more highly than those who work to keep aircraft safe today.
We've got a lot of history here at the HESB. I'm very proud of David Warren. That's why we hang his picture on the wall. Today we record on memory chips like this. This is a memory board from a recorder. And the technique of recording is a lot sturdier. So the crash protection standards have improved since those days.
But they still stay true to the vision which David Warren had all those decades ago.
It is believed that when voice plus data recording in aircraft becomes more widely adopted, it will prove to be a major factor in maintaining high standards of air safety throughout the world.
The fact that these units are fitted to all large passenger aircraft all over the world now is just a fantastic story.
He was very proud of his contribution to get it all started.
This really brings it home how important aviation safety is and how these sorts of devices have saved countless lives.
The flight recorders, or black boxes, are the most critical part of an accident investigation, or the evidence we can collect. And if you find the black boxes, the mystery of what happened in the accident is usually solved.